Okay, so we've done most of the basic stitches already, so this one's still technically basic, but getting a little more advanced anyway, because you don't see it pop up that often in crochet patterns, but today we're going to do the triple crochet. We did double crochet before. This is slightly more complicated, but it's really still easy, and it's obviously a bit taller than the double crochet, because yeah, obvious reasoning if you've been sticking around for all these, so okay. On this stitch, you go into the 5th stitch from the needle. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, because you're skipping over 4 of them, so you go into the 5th. But you wrap twice to do the triple crochet. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, okay. I know I'm usually a stickler about the way I go into the first row, but this video will take forever if I don't just suck it up, so it goes in how it goes in. Okay, 1, 2, and 3. See, it's very similar to the double crochet. You just have to remember to wrap twice on each time you go into a new stitch. Go in, whoop. See, it's tricky while you're getting used to it, so you might want to hold on to your yarn over, but yarn over, pull it through the first 2, oops, let me try that again. Wrap twice. See, it happens to the best of us, but go into that next stitch. Pull up. Got 4 loops on your hook. Go through 2 of them. Go through 2 of them. Go through the last 2. See, it's pretty simple. I mean, you just have to remember what exactly you're doing here. So, go into the next one. Pull up. Go through the first 2 loops. First 2 loops. Last 2 loops. See, it's not so bad. It's just easy to confuse with the technique for the double crochet, so you have to be paying attention while you're getting used to it. 2 loops, 2 loops, 2 loops. It's also easy to do 1 too many wraps and then end up with an extra loop on there and end up with a taller stitch than you need, and for obviously reasons that can cause problems, so you don't want that. Just pay attention to what you're doing. And just go 2 loops at a time, always 2 loops at a time. No more, no less. See, we're already almost through. Doesn't want to go through. Okay. I know, I'm moving a bit faster than I normally do, but I think you guys have gotten the general gist of my tutorials, so since this is so similar to the double crochet, it's pretty easy to catch on what you're supposed to be doing, especially if you're working along with me. Through the loops, 2 more loops, and 2 more loops. Next stitch. Go through 2. Go through 2. Go through 2. Wrap twice. Into the stitch, pull up, go through the first 2, middle 2, last 2. Okay, now you're at the end of your row. Let's just double check here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Okay, so we chain 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Turn it around. And you'll be able to tell where your first stitch is supposed to be not right here, because you're trying to line up with the posts. So since this counts as a stitch, your chain 4 does, you're going to go on to the next post. So it's this stitch here that you're going to go into, because otherwise you can have too many. See, when you get into the taller stitches, these things matter. And although I did not invent this phrase, but through watching other videos when I was learning how to do this for the triple crochet, one easy way to remember for the triple crochet is loop, loop, through, or wait, no, that's not what it was. I'm dumb. Okay, wrap, wrap through the gap. I knew it was a rhyming thing. So, wrap, wrap through the gap. Because it'll help you keep in mind how many times you're supposed to wrap for this stitch, because otherwise it does get confusing. I have to admit, I've messed it up many times before, so I still find myself going to the wrap, wrap through the gap thing when a pattern calls for this. Although I've only run across one pattern so far that really called for triple crochets, but I'm sure there's others that do, but they're nowhere near as common. You're basically going to run into single crochets, half double crochets, and double crochets for most intents and purposes. Yeah, it's not so hard. It's just mostly a matter of getting the double wrap and holding it there while you get it into the stitch so it doesn't fall off. After that point, you don't really have to worry about it so much since you've got it and it's on there. So wrap, wrap through the gap. Oops, last one. Go through two, 2. Then see, this is like the double crochet where you're going to have to go in through that little end stitch there, that little top V of what was your chain 3 on the previous row. So again, it takes some getting used to get in there, but it's a little trickier than all the rest of the stitches on your row, but you can do it. See, it just takes a little longer. That's all, see? That's not so bad. Then you do your chain 4. Turn it around. See, you've already got 2 rows of it, and see how tall that is already? Yeah, not bad. But you'll notice there's a lot of gaps in this because of the height of the stitches. So, I mean, again, for something like an Afghan, this is great, but for things like stuffed animals, you are not going to want to use this as your main means of stitching because your stuffing will fall out. Nobody wants that problem. So just cruise right along. And the more you do it, the faster you get, just like I always reiterate. So I'll just do this in one more row so you can see a sample of what this looks like. See, it does flip up in that first corner, but especially if you use a yarn that you're able to block later, you can fix that quite easily through the blocking process and getting it all squared out in the corners. But with an acrylic, you're kind of stuck because you can't really block acrylics. They don't do much. You can try to, but yeah, you're not going to have much luck there. And this is indeed an acrylic, so. But you will use whatever you will use. Down to the last stitch on the end. 2, 2, 2, chain 4, turn it around. See, this actually, if you wanted an airy little scarf, it'd probably be a good stitch for something like that, because you'd be done really quickly with one. Wrap twice, wrap, wrap in the gap. And just cruise right along. You're almost done here. Last stitch on the end. Oops, one too many. Okay. I'll just do the chain 4 so I can lay this out a little more evenly. Okay. And pretty much there you are. That is what a triple crochet stitch looks like. Not too shabby. But see, you can even see like my ball of yarn through it, just how much airiness there is to this. It's got a lot of visibility. I mean, these gaps, you can get your fingers through. They're big. But for some things, that's actually a good stitch to use, and I mean, especially if you're alternating stitches throughout a row, it's often how people will do, like, ridges or chevrons or anything like that, so yeah, there's lots of practical uses for this.